So, hey everybody, welcome back to Fit with Gopal. Today I'm joined by Mr. Jonathan Garcia.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So, could you introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
My name is Jonathan Garcia. I'm a 66 kilogram powerlifter competing in the IPF from America to be Powerlifting America. 66, two-time national champion and two-time silver medalist at the World Championships. Came super close this past year, but we're still at it, still working, still a little bit left to do on the platform. So yeah, excited. Let's see what this new season brings when nationals comes around.
Hmm. So, how did you first get into powerlifting?
I got into powerlifting. I used to do Olympic lifting. It's a very long
Hmm.
story, but very brief for you. I used to do Olympic lifting when I was younger. Life kind of happened, circumstances. Quit competing, but still trained heavily. And one day I was just training for fun in the gym, and I had a gentleman approach me about doing powerlifting because I was doing squats. I always liked training legs, and he was actually a retired powerlifter, and he was very excited about the weights that I was doing. I think at that time I was like 56 sorry, yeah, about 59 kilograms. I was about 132 pounds, and I was working out with about like 450, somewhere around
Wow.
there. He was like, "So what weight class do you compete in?" And I was like, "Well, I used to do Olympic lifting, but I'm just here training for fun." And I remember him being just like, "There's no freaking way you don't do powerlifting." And I said, "It's funny." I was like, "Those guys like in the suits and like could barely walk around with the knee wraps and everything." And he was like, because that's what I thought like powerlifting was. Like at that
Yeah.
year, powerlifting wasn't as popular or as mainstream as it is now. So that's like my mental perception of like powerlifters, like those big roided out guys that wearing like the bodysuits stage. But he's like, no, 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 man, you gotta try it, you gotta try it, gotta try it. And there was a personal trainer in there that was a buddy of mine that was like, "Man, I'll help between us. We'll sponsor your first meet. Like, let's just get you on the platform, because based on just the weight that you're slinging around in the gym working out with, you're gonna hit all of these like state level records right off the bat." And I was like, man, I was really scared to step on the platform again, just because of like I thought that I had put that baby to bed a while, years ago, and I was kind of coming to peace with that, not competing again. But I mean, I went ahead and did it, and it was awesome. My first powerlifting competition ever was in the IPL, so I didn't really know much about like the different federations and things like that. I learned that much later in my powerlifting career. But anyways, we had a great competition. The first meet, it's so funny. I missed my first squat because I was like so nervous. I jumped the commands, and I ended up getting like the best lifter overall at that competition. And I was like bit by the iron bug again. And yeah, so that's a like really long story, just super condensed. But I got into powerlifting and just most happened by chance ways, and it was pretty amazing.
And you were squatting high bar at the time, right?
Yeah, I was squatting high bar at the time. Like, I didn't know, like, I mean, like my first, um, at that time, USA powerlifting, because I had made the jump over to
Yeah.
IPF, because I ran into this guy from like a mutual friend, and he's like, because I had won the IPL World Championships for my weight class, my first year powerlifting. And I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, this is cool to start with, but I want to kind of branch out. Like, where are the best lifters lifting at? And they didn't drug test. And it was very important for me to be in a federation where I got drug tested regularly. Because, I've never tampered with that kind of stuff. I never will. And it was really important to me to be around a federation and people running it who thought the same as me, because from in my opinion, not bashing anybody, if you can't do it without using substances, then you can't do it. That's
Mm.
too. I believe in natural strength. I think push, you can really go beyond what's physically humanly possible, but you have to dedicate so much to other areas to get there. And I feel like steroids and stuff like that, it's just a big kind of like, it's a big shortcut, and I don't think it's as impressive. But still, not knocking anybody who dabbles in that and lifts in a different federation. So I made the change over to the at that point USA powerlifting, and then kind of like had to learn, okay, like, yeah, this is low bar and this is how you sumo deadlift. I didn't know anything like technique wise, I didn't know how
Mm,
to set my arch and set my leverage points on the bench. I was just like showing
yeah.
up. I think that's what held me back. Like my first couple years, I really just didn't know anything. I didn't have a coach or handler. My first meets, I remember like at my Atlanta meet was or nationals was such a disaster because like I didn't I didn't know that there was just a 2 hour weigh in. I didn't know that that you had to wear SBD or at that point Titan.
Yeah.
Um, our IPF approved equipment. I remember I went in like with like a Gold's Gym Walmart belt to and they're like, you can't use this stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And so I had to buy all new equipment like that day up, like a brand new belt and everything, and then try to lift. And it was just, I didn't have my best meet. I was super disappointing. But you learn those things, I kind of came in a little older than everyone else. I think my first powerlifting meet with the IPF Federation, I was 27, 28,
Oh, wow. Okay.
a little older. So I did high bar. I was still deadlifting in squat shoes. Like I didn't know. Like, I was just there on just my merit and strength. And I had to kind of slowly just kind of watch what other lifters was doing. I really watched Taylor Atwood closely, and I
Mm.
was like, oh, well, this is kind of how he does it. I'll try that low bar thing, and then my squat went just way up, and I always had a crazy big squat. But it once I really perfected the low bar, it really just moved me. Again, to it's no secret I'm the world record squat holder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So those things took years to kind of change. I didn't have a group around me to show me the right way. I was training alone. I was writing my own workouts, and all while juggling, job, family, kids, things like that. So over time, it got it much better, and I think I'm at a level now where I can say I'm a little bit more seasoned, and I know the do's and don'ts and the rights and wrongs.
And this was 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, so yeah, no, a little bit longer. I mean, my first competition, I'm 36 now, so yeah, I mean, my first
Oh,
competition was
like 9 years.
yeah, close to, yeah,
Yeah.
close
Oh,
to,
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's like, yeah, back then equipped was way bigger than classic.
yeah,
Back then it was like, yeah, if you thought of powerlifting, you thought of these big roided out people with suits. Uh, but nowadays it's the complete opposite.
yeah,
People like you or even Taylor Atwood or all of these people who are winning world championships, you guys are like the faces of powerlifting. Like if somebody thinks, okay, who is in the 66 class, they think of you, they think of Kasim-san or Pana, but nobody really thinks of the equip side anymore.
yeah. I mean, I never really followed like equipped, but I mean, those guys work really hard too. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely
for
not
sure.
taking anything away from those guys, but I do think that you're right on that. People think of powerlifting, they think of the guys that are more raw, you
Yeah.
know, uh, and I think that while equipped, it's its own difficulties and category, like that. I'm sure that I've never lifted equipped, but I'm sure it's really hard to go out there. I mean, it looks even hard just to walk on stage when they're wearing
Yeah.
the suit so tight. And, I think that you're right. It's more the raw side of things that people are a little bit more eyes on.
And I think the shift happened because there are so many more influencers like Russell or he or other people like even Jesus right now, they're so much bigger than any of the equipped influencers.
I think so too. I think that a weird side of the growth of powerlifting has been like social media.
Yeah,
So a lot, I mean, they put a lot of work into growing their social media presence. So I think you're very right on that. Like,
yeah,
they are more socially popular, like on like followers on Instagram or YouTube, whatever the case may be. So they're becoming, which it's like I think it's a good thing for the growth of the sport. The more, just like we mentioned earlier, doing podcasts,
yeah,
getting people to kind of know the lifter behind the scenes, behind the stage, will only increase the fandom, because I'll be the first one to say powerlifting is a boring sport to watch. It
I
is.
agree.
It's you got 18 dudes coming out there doing the exact same movements as what I'm talking about. They might do it. Techniques may differ here and there to make it slightly more visually interesting, but there's no music. There's no a DJ hyping the crowd up to an extent on some meets, but it's a very boring sport to watch. But what makes it interesting is that, hey, I like that guy. I know his
Hmm,
story. I know, whatever about him. I can't wait till he goes on. That's the exciting part, the anticipation part. And I think that that is the guys that do the big social media stuff. They bring in the big crowds, and that's what the sport needs to continue its path on that it's going. I think powerlifting is going on a great path right now. I think that stuff like SBD is doing with the Sheffield is amazing. Even different federations are doing crazy shows and with like smoke and different entrances for
yeah.
lifters that more a little bit more showmanship. I think it's great for powerlifting all the way around the spectrum, regardless of what federation or equipped it or non-equipped it. I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Hey, so I know you're enjoying the podcast and I'll let you get back to that, but I had a quick little announcement that I wanted to make. If you're looking to lose fat, build muscle, or get fit, I can help you with that. Currently, I'm providing online and in-person training. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp. Links are in the description. So what are you waiting for? Get fit with Gopal today and back to the show. So, you talked about so before we started, we were talking about your childhood and basically growing up in Florida. You grew up in Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in
Yeah.
Florida.
So what was that like? Like growing up, how were your parents like? Could you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we moved to Florida when I was about 5 years old. My dad was involved in the gang shooting. Sorry, there's just no way to politically correct say that. So yeah, just involved in some gang stuff, and he got shot a few times, and so we moved from Florida to get away from all that. They almost
Mm.
killed him, and
Oh,
so we moved to Florida to kind of get away from all that kind of in Connecticut, New York. At that time in the early '90s, it was very gangs are still huge in America, but still even bigger back then, a little bit more crazy. So yeah, we moved to Florida to kind of get away from that. And my childhood, I mean, it's a difficult thing for me to talk about truthfully, but the bullet points. My dad and I just never had like the most phenomenal relationship, and it's crazy now because wow, I'm a grown ass man now. We have a much better relationship. So, but back then it was difficult, and then for he did get incarcerated for, I want to say, 9 years. So he was in my life for a little bit and then out. So I quickly had to kind of become at an early age kind of man of the house and assume a lot of responsibilities. I've always had a job, even since I was like 14 years old, always worked to try to help. I didn't ever want to be a burden on my family or my mom. So I always kind of tried to make sure that I had money to pay my stuff. I had money to pay my cell phone bill, my car insurance, things like that. And, while at that time it was extremely difficult to kind of go through that stuff, I'm really grateful for it because it really instilled just a sense of like working, like hard work in me. And it's kind of helped me all my life, regardless of what position I'm in or how rock bottom financially I get or feel. I know that I can work myself out of any hole as long as I just make sure that I keep my head on straight and just keep my head down and work as hard as I can. And that's kind of served me really well through my life, kind of that work ethic I had to gain. It was tough not having a dad around, but at the same time, my dad was very I don't want to say controlling, but for lack of a better word, I will say that. And just, I didn't have a lot of room to breathe and kind of grow and be my own person. And my mom did allow that, kind of just because I've always kind of been like a jokester. My dad was always very much, hey, don't act that way, be serious. You're a man, act like a man kind of guy. And it was just nice to kind of grow into my own. And really, me and my mom grew a lot closer. Me and my brother grew a lot closer. It was a very happy time in my life. We were very poor. We didn't have a lot to go around. But it was still just some fond memories from me being um, living in that situation with just my mom and my brother. It was really nice. It was just I remember those times very fondly. We didn't have a lot, but we were happy just being with each other. And I think at that time for me that was enough.
Yeah. Now, this is a personal question. You don't need to answer it if you don't want to, but if you could go back in time, would you change anything?
Oh, I don't think there's a whole lot really truthfully, man. I could have changed, a lot of circumstances that befell me when I was a child. I mean, what can you do as a child? You know what I'm saying? I mean, adults make their choices, and then kids suffer the consequences.
Mhm.
That's something as a father I try to keep in mind. Like the choices that I make, my kids may pay the consequences for. Whether consequences maybe not me not having them not having me around. Maybe me not being able to pay the bills, maybe me not being able to buy Christmas toys, things like that. But
Yeah.
once you kind of really have to cement that in your brain that your actions are your own, but your family may suffer the consequences of your actions. You know, I've always kind of been like a short temper kind of guy, and once you have kids, you have to understand that hey, maybe it's not worth saying anything to that person. Just let it roll off, let it slide. Because again, you don't know the consequences of your actions. So,
Yeah.
but no,
And
I wouldn't change anything because I don't think there's anything I really could have changed. Like once I became an
mm,
adult, sure. But at the same time, to be truthful with you, I look at my life now and where I'm at financially, where I'm at with my wife and my two beautiful children, and my very nice house. I really don't. I don't think I would have done anything different because I ended up exactly where I am now, and I really do enjoy my situation. Everybody has their hard days. I'm not gonna act like my shit's perfect, but holistically, and when I look back on where I grew up, and when I talk about my childhood, which is very rarely, it makes me even so much more appreciative to be where I am.
mm. Sometimes what happens is like people who come from rough childhoods, when they do grow up and they have a better life, they feel like they're dreaming. Has that ever happened to you? Do you ever feel like this is all a dream and you could wake up any second?
No, not necessarily. No, no. You just have to remember, just to be grateful. That's something me and my
Yeah.
old lady talk about a lot. We just talk about, hey, let's just be grateful. There's a
Yeah.
million things. Even on your worst day, there is someone who would trade places with you in a heartbeat. And that's something I try to think about often. I work in sales, so sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, sometimes you're in the middle. I still have to think, I drive a really nice car, a really nice house, my kids, we love each other. This is a safe home where they can laugh and joke around and, we can be together and just feel safe around each other. That's something I didn't really feel a lot when I was a kid was like safe. So it just being a provider, not only like monetarily, but also just like a provider of like a comfortable space, a safe space. It's really what brings me a lot of joy.
And are you like, do you believe in a higher power? Are you religious at all?
I would say I'm a little bit. I'm a little bit. As I've gotten a little bit older, I've leaned a little bit more towards my spiritual side. um, kind of navigating that day by day. Um, so yeah, I would say a little bit. Yeah.
And do you think that helps you maybe go through some challenges, like maybe when you're having a bad day, you just that spirituality just helps you?
I wouldn't say that I necessarily lean on that when I'm having a bad day. Um,
Okay.
I've always said that if there is a God, He's got more important things to worry about than my bad day.
Mm,
Because like I said earlier, like somebody would trade places with me in a heartbeat. I mean, all around the world, just disgusting atrocities that happen. And like, but am I gonna be mad because I don't fucking know I missed a bench or something like that? Like that's just insanely stupid.
yeah.
I more of my spirituality is more of a sense of like gratefulness versus like asking for stuff. If that makes
Mm,
any sense.
yeah.
I'm much more appreciative. Even on my worst days, I woke up this morning when someone else didn't wake up.
Yeah.
So day, even if it was made it a rough day. Like last week, I had a really rough week. But again, I came home, my kids were fed, my lights are on, the air conditioning's working. There's so many things to be grateful in life, and I wish that more people had that kind of perspective because, especially here in the States, we're so blessed just to be Americans and have
Yeah.
some of the that we do. And it just really bothers me when people just complain about so much, yet our plate is so full. A good buddy of mine used to say, it's very easy to complain when you're full.
Mm,
And I do that a lot. He told me
yeah.
that years ago. It's just so true, you know? Just be grateful for what you have. And one thing that I've tried to spend most of my money on is travel, and sometimes it takes you getting out of your box or your bubble, go seeing how other cultures are, how other people live, and it really drives home how lucky we are.
Mm. Speaking of traveling, have you ever been to Asia?
I've never been to Asia, so going to the World Games will be my first time.
Yes. And I think China is like probably the best spot to start because it's a really nice country. Especially because I think the World Games is at Chengdu, if I'm saying that correctly.
You
I
even
think
if
so.
you were, no idea. I'd
Yeah.
have to look exactly how. I have no idea, but you
Mm,
could be right.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited for that. We may turn that into a big family trip. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. Have to see like where the budget is for all of us to go. So
Yeah, I think China is a great place for your family as well. You should definitely visit. Now, what I want to talk about is USAPL because you previously stated that you were a part of USAPL. Now, I believe USAPL split ways with the IPF a few years ago,
mhm.
and a lot of the lifters, I think you included, decided to stay with the USAPL.
No, actually, I went to Powerlifting America like immediately.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what was your mindset behind that decision? Did you, like, did you think, okay, IPF is a better way, or what was it?
Well, it was really just about going to the World Championships. I think
Okay.
that any lifter that has the capacity or is within range to be a world champion, I think that's the ultimate goal for all of us. You know what I mean? We don't have the Olympics. We don't have, the playoffs or whatever. So I think that is, that title that, it's while there's a new world champion every year.
Yeah.
So you hold the title for a year, but
Yeah.
it's one of the kind of like, well, you're kind of a world champion forever, at least
Yeah.
in my mind. You know what I mean? So I think that um, that is any lifter that's within range of being a world champion. I think that's every lifter's goal. I'm not speaking for all of us, but I don't imagine it would. So
Yeah.
I want to lift amongst the best that the world has to offer, and
Mm.
if it were to happen with Powerlifting America, and they would split to a different one, and they became an IPF affiliate, I may have to go to that one. It's just that is the end all be all goal for me, at least.
Yeah. So I believe in one of the King of the Lifts podcasts, you said that you're kind of like Mike Tyson
In what sense?
with your mindset.
I think when it comes to like competition day, yes. I
Yes.
like to consider myself like at least I would think people would think I'm a nice guy and I want to be
Mm.
friendly. But
Yeah.
when it comes to me and competing, I don't want to say hi to you at weigh-ins. I don't want to talk to you during warm-ups. You are trying to take my goal away from me. So at that
Mm.
point, you are in a sense my enemy across
Yeah.
the field. We can say hi after, we can have a beer and dinner, and I'll even pay. But I don't like for me, and at that time in that mindset, you don't exist to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You, you're standing in front of my goal, and I have to run you over. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I know that some lifters may think, Jonathan's trying to steer me down or anything like that. But if I lock eyes inadvertently with the lifter in the show or in the warm up room, I'm staring at you until you stare away,
Yeah.
until you look. Because when you look away, I kind of already know I'm in your head.
Mm.
Because you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you're in my way. You're in my way. You're in my way. Every competition, there's a good guy and bad guy. You know, everybody wants themselves to win, but at the same time, I don't give a shit about you or your goals
Mm.
because I'm here. I can be your friend after, and we could talk about the meat, and I'd love to hear your story. But in that specific moment, um, I don't care about you. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's just how I feel, at least. Because again, you're trying to take my goals and my aspirations away from me. I know you've worked hard. You probably worked just as hard as I am, maybe, but we'll see. You know, so that's one of the things that I kind of just mindset that I slip into just
Yeah.
on competition days. Hell, I help anybody out. But I'm there to show what I can do, and I'm there to win.
Mm. I think it was Taylor Atwood who once said, like, at Sheffield, there was somebody handing out cookies, and he wasn't even in the same weight class, or maybe it was Worlds. He wasn't even in the same weight class as Taylor, but Taylor was like, "Nah, I don't want to eat your cookies." And it was just like the guy was just trying to be nice, but Taylor was so in the zone that he didn't care about anything else. He just wanted his goal, which was winning. And I think you're very similar to that.
I think I remember hearing that story a little bit. Taylor's like that too. I've seen
Yeah,
him in the one room and through the years, because we've I don't know how long Taylor's been lifting, but I've known Taylor since my first nationals. Like I knew of him,
yeah,
and it was years before I even spoke to him. And for a while there, we were on the same kind of, I guess, like team as far as like strength guys. And I kind of, got to know him like when I was in like South Africa. His dad's awesome. His dad like gave me like some great advice and great talking to. And I don't kind of have like a dad to do that for me or
yeah,
that would for me. So like that really meant a lot to me. His dad is 10 out of 10, awesome dude, and so is Taylor. But like, you know, he has such a great support system around him. I really envy like that relationship he has with his dad.
yeah,
That got me pumped up. He talked to me a little bit before Worlds in Africa, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Hell yeah!" Um, no, but to add to your point, he's very focused, laser focused when
yeah,
he's about to. Super excited that he's back. I've always been a big fan of his. I mean, for a while, he was the king of powerlifting,
yeah,
and it's awesome to see him back, and I'm ready to see him again at in Atlanta.
yeah. I can't wait to see him compete again, especially because just this past meet he hit 830. Oh, what's wrong with my camera? Uh, I think it's just the reactions thing. Okay, so he hit 830, and that was like probably an RP 8 or less. That looked quite easy. It looked like he had more in the tank, and I think as an 83, he can maybe even battle like Russ, Jirens, and all of these guys.
Yeah, I would like to say Taylor's always been my favorite powerlifter to watch. For
Yeah,
a while, it's funny. He makes it look so easy, even if he's like struggling. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like that's a charisma on the platform you can't really like fake. And yeah, he's a cool dude, and I like him, and I want him to do nothing but succeed in this weight class.
yeah. And before you qualified for Worlds this year, you hit 715.5 kgs at nationals. How did that meet go? Was that like a perfect meet, or were there things that you could have done better in that meet as well?
That meet, believe it or not, I really almost didn't lift. I almost dropped
Ooh,
out of the meet. But a week before the competition, I had a herniated disc on my lower
yeah,
back, and it was just bulging and it's just causing a lot of pain. So I didn't lift anything, not even the bar, almost 9 days before the competition.
yeah,
And I mean, I was walking like leaning over bad. It
oh,
was it was pretty rough. It's just a back injury that's constantly flared up, especially like when I'm going heavy and I'm training a lot. Heavy squats, deads, and if you go back and watch, I couldn't even put my feet. My back was so tight, I couldn't even put my feet. I couldn't lay on the bench and put my feet flat on the ground. I had to use the spacers to
mm,
elevate my feet so
yeah,
I could touch. And I just, you know, the entire 2 days before when I landed in Reno was a lot of rehab, a lot of stretching, a lot of heat, laying on the heat pad to just alleviate some of that swelling. Because when your hernia, when it comes inflamed, touches the nerves, and it's just like
yeah,
really like alerting, like you feel kind of like lightning pain. And man, this I was just battling in my head, like, what do I do? Frustration. Any lifter knows what it's like to know that you put in the hard work and how frustrating it can be. Like the fucking days before your competition, you have an injury. And you're like, gosh, come on. Just super frustrating.
yeah,
Thankfully, super long flight, so I didn't have to sit like upright very long because that can wreak havoc on your lower back as well. But no, we ended up putting together a great competition. We kind of sandbagged a little bit on the bench press because I didn't want to. I didn't like that was what hurt my back the most. The bench press, like having
yeah,
the arch. Yeah, I couldn't put my feet on the ground, and I wasn't used to benching off like the 4-inch blocks.
yeah.
A little conservative, and then we did great on the deadlift, so it ended up being a W. Could I have done another 5, 7 kilos on the bench for sure, for sure, for sure.
So your top end that day would have been somewhere around 720 to 725, right?
I think so. I think
Yeah,
fully fresh, fully healed. Um, I think so. I think we could have done a little bit more on the deadlift too. I know that I missed that same weight at Worlds, but I had a tear in my adductor again. Freaking
yeah,
right. And what really hurts us Americans is like nationals, and then Worlds is so close.
yeah,
Like at its nationals, so I mean they've got all this time till Worlds. Like if
yeah,
Worlds is soon, they got 6 months or more than 6 months before Worlds. So it's kind of like tricky. I wish nationals for us was a little bit closer to maybe like January.
mm,
Then we'd have until. So it's a very quick turnaround time. But I could have deadlifted a little bit more too. We had hit 615 in training.
yeah,
So I knew that if I needed to bust out that bigger deadlift, I could. But just based on where everyone else in the pack was, we secured it with that 585 on the third, and like it was just 9 for 9, perfect day.
yeah.
We were happy with
A-
that. We were
And then you finally qualified for Worlds, uh, which is just that's a whole nother story because uh, getting the same total, all three of you, just getting beat by like body weight. I
Mm-hmm.
know that that probably hurt quite a lot.
Well, for sure. I mean, I I tore my abductor about 2 weeks before Worlds, and it was extremely frustrating. Because your everything was going just like perfect. So we just training, numbers, everything was looking good. And it was weird because it was very much like, all right, we just did this amazing world record total
Yeah.
nationals. Let's just keep that same boat afloat. We're not going to
Mm.
get any the next 2 months. This is not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And let's not get any weaker. That's most likely not going to happen. So let's just stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know, I was just pushing the deadlift too much, and I tore my abductor. If you know where that's located, it's very close
Yeah.
to your groin. That is probably the worst injury I've had, just because it's immobilizing. Like you can't. So I didn't do any squats or deadlifts for 3 weeks, and it just
Oh wow.
really, yeah, it just really affected my deadlift, and I would have been world champion had I gotten that last deadlift at Worlds. That's what it came down to. But
Yeah.
between grip and just working the technique and just strength, my deadlift wasn't there. In hindsight, those were things that I shared with my handler and coaching staff, and I think that we just played the strategy all wrong.
Okay.
You look at that situation, and I'm sure all three of us could say, "We'll do this, this, and this different."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think truly that I was the strongest guy that day. I just played the cards wrong. We didn't make the right calls. Like on squat, we had a meeting beforehand, and this isn't me blaming anybody whatsoever. I was a part of that meeting. I had the final say so on whether or not that was going to look good or was, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we knew the hot, so we're like, let's lean in on the bench because that's the only thing that I could train when my injury.
Yeah.
So we pushed the bench. We were conservative on the squat. And long story short, the being too conservative on the squat is really what ultimately didn't win me the bag.
Mm.
Um, I trained alone, so I missed my first squat by the squat command. Like he said, like I went down like as he's saying squat. I didn't pause, so it's
Uh,
squat, and then they do the hand, then you go. But again, that's an oversight. So we missed the first squat. It wasn't like by weight or depth or anything, and then we get the second one and the one after. And I think we just played it a little too conservative. I did less on the squat than I did in Africa 2 years before.
yeah.
When a week and a half before, I did 280, 282.5, I think, in training.
Yeah.
You so I did 5 reds, a white, and a black. I'm American, so excuse me on the
Yeah.
kilos, but and I did that, and that was definitely RP 10, and I
Yeah.
think I posted, but it was depth, it was good. I could go back and forth, and I have gone back and forth a million times in my head. Like, should I have told them that I wanted to do this, regardless of what they? Because and I understand from a lifter's perspective, you got it,
Yeah.
and from side coaching staff, you wonder like, does he have it? Like, I've been on both sides of the table. So while you want to do be conservative, I wish that we had gone with my gut instinct. And because the way that me and my handler approach things is I would have my day. I would always
Hmm.
write situations like feeling fucking phenomenal or not feeling like
Yeah.
best, and I would write those down and then we would compare notes. So I wish I kind of would have gone with my initial gut instinct. I knew that I was good for really close to 280 that day, or maybe 285 on the squat. And then that would have just, they would have had to deadlift it so much more. Same
Yeah.
strategy on one nationals. Push them because I squat more than everyone. I bench more than everyone, but they definitely deadlift more than me.
Yeah.
That's not a, so I have to be so far in the lead going into deads that they really gotta just pull out a fucking miracle. And
Yeah.
the deadlifts are deadly. They really are. But the problem is now everything rides on that. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So I got to push them out their comfort zone. And I mean, while my deadlift obviously is it's not the best in the world, definitely not the worst. It's getting better. I'm very excited about that. But everybody knows to beat me, you have to out deadlift me because you're not going to out squat me and you're not going to
Mm.
out bench me. So I think that we played it too conservatively, and
Yeah.
it really beat. I really like. I remember my third bench. I was like, "Fuck! I could have done at least 180, 185." But they played it conservatively. They knew that Panna typically misses his third deadlift,
Yep.
so they're like, that should be enough. And then Stan was a very wild card because he before this he missed a lot of lifts.
Yeah.
Like, I remember in Africa, I remember and a few other things I had seen him. He was a very much like depending on where the wind blows, this guy may or may not get this lift.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I'm not saying anything bad against him, but it was kind of his track record,
Yeah.
and all the powerlifting. That's all you have to go off of. You
Yes.
know, do you normally make these catches? Yes or no? The same difference. Same thing as like any sports analysts. So we actually didn't see him like a mega big threat. It was
Mm.
just like, hey, beat Panna. Same thing with Kyoto.
Yeah.
Very up and down lifter. It's like you toss a coin and he may or may not get this lift. It's not a guy you can really write a check and
Yep.
say this cash. Does that make any sense? Not saying
Yeah. Yeah.
anything about lifter. Not saying anything. I'm just saying on what your track record shows. And as a competitor, that's what I'm going to look at. I'm not going to watch your Instagram training because I don't give your lifts when you're at home and you're 10 pounds over body weight. Like that shit doesn't matter to me. What does your meet record mean? Like everybody want to post these big lifts on Instagram, and I'm guilty of that too.
Mm.
Of course, I'm excited. I want to show my followers and my fans that I have out there, hey, my boys got it still. It creates excitement, especially for such a stacked weight class. But
Yeah.
at the same I don't want people to think or to look at like, oh, this guy's just strong on Instagram. But like when he goes to the meet, I mean, how many lifters do you know look amazing in training? The
Yeah.
Instagram, yeah, dude, that's a world record total by like 40 kilos. And then you go on meet day and it's totally different. Nowhere near that weight. It's because, again, they're training at home, no travel. Travel is a ginormous factor. If you're a lifter out there listening, and you've never traveled from one country to another, been on 5 flights, you know, maybe 26 hours of travel time, then time zone change, then the other country may not have the food you like or food you're accustomed to eating. There's so many variables. You have to take that into consideration. And then also the weight cut. Some guys are the weight cut is really hard for them. It zaps their strength. You hear guys like, oh, I'm going to do 66. Well, I'm very interested to see how you perform because it's a difficult weight class to be in. It's not easy. It's not.
Yeah.
And the 66 will always, always stay a stacked weight class because nobody
Mm.
wants to move. Nobody wants to lift against Perk. First, it was nobody wanted to lift against Atwood. That was a guaranteed L. Just stamp L right on you. Get ready for second place. And then now you have Perk. Who's going to beat him? So the
That's true.
66 will consistently stay a beefy weight class because nobody wants to go up, so they cut. So it's more competition, which I like. I mean, I like that. Iron sharpens iron, and I think that the more big like heavy hitters come to the CC6, I think just the better for me in the weight class. You know, I think it's just going to bring more eyes. I don't think I'm the most popular 66 by any means, but I'm not as active on social media and doing all these things. I do a little bit here and there when I have time, but I have a family, so I spread my time a little bit more differently. But yeah, I think the more guys that come, the better for me as an athlete. I want to be. I think it would be insanely boring to just show up and win. I think it would be. The competitor in me would not have been doing weightlifting or powerlifting this long if it was just a show up and I win. I'd be
Yeah.
very bored at that. I like
Mm,
to like, I like to. It's exciting, you know. Why just show up and win the gold medal? I mean, that's almost like a participation trophy in a
mm,
sense, you know.
yeah.
Man, that was sick, dude. He missed that lift. He got that lift. That's exciting, you know. Let
Yeah.
that throw the air. Let them fall where they fall, you know. I hear some of these podcasts like before these big meets and stuff like that,
Mm.
and they always like I shake my head. I'm like these motherfuckers because they always, bro. What are you talking about? You know, some podcasts had me like at fifth or like at fourth place at
Oh.
Worlds, and I just broke the fucking world total record. Like, what the fuck are you? These guys have never been close. But again, that goes to following the training. You
Mm.
know, I that like oh they look great in training. He hit 200 in training. Yeah, but he's hit nowhere near that on meet day. So there's that variables I think that people forget about. But
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a lot to unpack. First of all, I want to talk about Kasim-san.
yeah,
That's my boy. uh, he's a really good friend of mine. And the thing is, in South Africa, what happened was, I think he got COVID
okay.
right before. So that's why he was missing all of these lifts. So I think you are right that, yeah, you should be looking at lifters' track records. But what happens is like, as you said, the travel really affects a lot of lifters. And these lifters only need one meet, like one super meet, like Kasim-san did. Uh, and I think what you should really be looking at is like their track record and a little bit of their training. Because what if they failed like 10 times at Worlds, but then the 11th time they can actually translate that training over to Worlds, if that makes sense.
No, a trillion percent. And I've been an example of that. You know,
Yeah.
how many championships did I not win?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely, and I only have two wins. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, 100%. And don't take anything I said as bad on any lifter
Oh,
whatsoever.
no, 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 not at all. No. Yeah.
That's just coming from a standpoint of sports analyst. And I think
Yes.
when you're in and you're discussing with your handler and coaching, you have to unfortunately have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know what
Of
I'm
course.
not fuck that guy, but at the same time, let's push him here to make him mess up.
Yeah.
Like Rico Manzo, huge deadlifter, huge deadlifter. But I think the meat sometimes gets to him. Like if he doesn't do well on bench, he's not gonna do well on deadlift. He's one of those guys like everything has to be going right, or if he misses, you know, in my opinion, we're going super heavy on an opener. Like
Yeah.
why? Why? Then you miss it.
I think
Now you
it's,
oh I, I don't know. I don't get that. But his coach, his training, his strategy. You know what I'm saying? And you have to play at your strengths. You know,
yeah.
even me, I have a ginormous squat, but I don't start super high.
Yeah.
You know, I've been instilled this old school training. Your first meet, your first lift should be your last warm up. Just
Yeah.
get on. So for me, I really only feel like you have two attempts
Hmm.
because your lift should be your last warm up. Get the
Yeah.
jitters out of the way. I don't care how many meets you've been in. Every lifter has a little bit of butterflies and jitters.
Of
And if
course.
you go to competition on your first lift, you don't feel that, I don't think that your heart's in the sport.
Yeah. Also, as we were talking about people coming down to the 66s, uh, so there is Shell, who is coming down to
Ooh,
the 60s. Shell Buckland.
where's he from?
He's from Norway. He's the guy who is going to do 800 as a 66.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. To be
he's
honest,
going to Sheffield. Yes.
and I apologize, I don't follow. I try not to follow like the powerlifting world too much. Like
Okay.
I focus on a lot like what I can do,
Yeah.
and then like I don't follow a bunch of lifters.
Yeah.
Um, and that's I think my bad on that. Like I think I should. but at the same time, I really just try to focus like on my world, on like what I
Yeah.
can control. Like powerlifting is a huge part of my life, but it
Yeah.
is not my entire life. You know what I'm saying? Like I have
Yeah.
so much going on, and then when you're a family man and things like that, some things kind of take priority over another. I'm just grateful to come and train some days and get the lifts that I need to get.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I think I do know who that is. He's dropping down from like 83s or something.
No, no, no. He's dropping down from the 74s. So
Okay.
this year at Worlds, he came second to Perkins.
Hmm.
And now what so he got a wild card entry, Sheffield, and now he is going in as a 66.
Okay.
And so I had him on the podcast, and what he said was he's aiming for an 800 plus total as a
Okay.
66 at Sheffield.
Let's
So I
see it.
think that's going to be
Look,
interesting because uh, I think it was just a few days ago he hit 780 for two in training, and his body weight's around 70 kgs. Now, again, that's training. It doesn't translate over to the competition, but I think that is like we can use that as like a rough estimate as to where his top end can be.
absolutely. Yeah, I think I did hear that. I'm again, man. I'm not
Yeah,
super active in social media circle.
yeah,
I try not because I got my own life and stuff going on. But
of
I think
course, yeah,
I wish him luck. I'll definitely be watching Sheffield. I wish him luck. That's a that's a gargantuan ask, but let's
yeah,
see how it goes. Yeah, just like any athlete, I can proclaim a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it really show me. Yeah, proof is in the pudding, kind of thing. But if he
yeah,
hits it,
of course,
that's awesome. And like I said earlier, any guy that comes in and you know pushes his way into the weight class and establishes himself, I think that's just going to only push the other guys even more.
yeah.
I think that's totally capable in the 66s, 100%. But that's a big ask, and I'll be very excited to see it. That'd be awesome if he does it.
And do you think if he does hit somewhere around 800, or let's even say 750,
Mhm.
do you think you can hit that total in the future?
Absolutely,
What do
absolutely.
you what do you think your peak is going to be total
I don't
wise?
know. I don't know. I mean, I
I
just
yeah,
like just an example. Like I hit 190 on the bench.
yeah.
I never thought of being able to do that at all, and I did it. We did it like on a whim.
Oh
You know,
wow.
we're not even like peak. We're
Yeah.
just training. So that's exciting. I'm working
Hmm.
with a new coach and new handler. Just because for since COVID, so
Yeah.
2020, I've been all my training has been done using the Juggernaut Training AI app.
Okay.
So, and I thought, well, competitions are kind of closed down for a year. And I heard there's this guy named Brandon on YouTube, and he was talking about Juggernaut Training and like an app, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to try, like while I'm in this downtime to kind
Yeah.
of see. And I gave myself like 8 months on it, and then I did a mock meet at home, and then I hit hitting like an insane total. I mean, I was like 12 pounds. I was probably like 70 kilos.
Oh damn.
You- Not 70 kilos now. I was probably like, I'll tell you in pounds. I was like probably like 150, 155, 156 body weight.
Okay. Yeah.
And I hit 636 pounds on the squat. I hit
Wow.
like 10 on the bench. And then I had a great deadlift day. I can't remember exactly what the number, but I was like, wow, like 8 months on this app. And it did pretty well for me on programming. And there were things in the app too that you could like change. One thing I really liked about it was like you didn't have to like if that last set felt let's say they give you like 160 for a set of 5 and that was
Yeah.
really tough. You could respond, "Hey, that last set was tough." And it would automatically adjust the weight for your next set as opposed to you texting a coach mid workout and then waiting for him to text you back.
Yeah.
Sometimes an hour. You don't have time for that as an athlete.
Yeah.
have to make that judgment call. Like, what do I do? And then every athlete who's ever done that, it's been like, was that the right weight call? Should I have gone up? Should I have stayed down?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was really cool, the app. So that app I actually used exclusively at 100% for my training from 2020 till 4 months ago.
So you went into Worlds using an AI app.
Straight up,
So
100%.
you
It
didn't
got
have a coach.
He got me two national championships, and it took me to Worlds twice for sure.
Oh,
For no,
that is crazy.
yeah, for $30 a month too. I was like, dude, this. I've actually met the Chad and his wife to kind of do the Juggernaut training thing,
Yeah.
and I've told them amazing app. I tell everybody about it. But here's why I started working with Joey Flex is because I think that what happened at Worlds was completely my fault because I had a handler, Arian, who wasn't writing my workouts, who
Mm.
wasn't seeing my training, who
Yeah.
wasn't intimate with my training. Like he didn't know the A, B, and C of my training.
Yeah.
Only know, does that make any sense?
Yeah. That
So,
does. Yeah.
so I think that having a handler that wasn't writing my workouts and wasn't literally knew my training like the back of his hand because he's personally writing it,
Yeah.
um, really hurt me or was hurting me because I'm asking a guy to have faith in that I can do a lift that he is only seeing me on my best day on my best lifts.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So thought that that's a variable piece that I could change by
Yeah.
having my a coach also be or my handler also being the coach that writes my programming. Nothing bad whatsoever on anybody. I think that that was just a call on myself that I think that I needed to make that change. And me and Arian are still friends. He's a great guy. He's helped me a lot. Like, cause I wasn't paying him to do any programming for me, and he would still show up and be my handler on the day. You know what I mean? Things was on his character, and he's a really good guy and a personal friend that, of course, I've worked with for shit 5 years with now, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but I felt like I needed to try something different and eliminate that variable of my handler and the guy who's helping me make decisions, or in a lot of cases, making the decisions for the lifter.
Yeah.
Um, be the same guy who's writing my program
Mm.
because he can look back in his memory and be like, Jonathan did 170 for 5 really easy. 190 shouldn't be hard of an ask for him. He's got it. Versus like, I'm not really sure. You know what I'm talking about? And that's
Yeah.
not any but my own to ask someone to make those big calls for me who doesn't know my training or has only seen the highlights.
Yeah.
And I think while it was an extremely difficult decision for me to make, both on a friendship perspective, I think that, and it was scary branching out to a new handler and coach, and it was even scary just giving up training with the Juggernaut AI because I become so accustomed.
Yeah.
I mean, cool fucking app just right on my phone telling me to do A, B, and Z, and as long as I did A, B, and Z, I grew stronger, and that's
Yeah.
literally. But again, the app can't be there on meet day.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? Where
Yeah.
like that cuts off.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I found myself stuck, like, I'm not sure what to do. And I came up with the conclusion of just let's start fresh, you know? Let's give it all, like, just give myself as an athlete and lifter brand new fresh air. And I reached out to Joey Flex and I kind of told him the situation. He's like, let's give it a try and see if it works. And so far, it's been working.
Mm. And I think you should like maybe get a sponsorship, or like they should put your face on an advertisement for the Juggernaut app, because you went from basically uh not winning national championships to winning national championships and then coming second in Worlds. So
Oh,
have
anybody
they
who's
ever reached out?
is a like a novice lifter and like is not sure, I mean that app is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
The shortcomings of the app is not having a physical person there on meet day.
Yeah.
Like the times that I've done, like when like the times that I've done, just like mock meets at home,
Yeah.
um, phenomenal. I mean that app with the tapering off. I was felt like I felt like before where I really my biggest downfall when I started powerlifting was not peaking correctly,
Mm.
just too much. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I was training very much bodybuilder style, a lot
Yeah.
of reps, sets, and it was holding me back from getting stronger. And I
Mm.
think that being on a proper training program, using the app, it was fantastic for my growth. But yes, they should at least give me like a shout out. I'm just kidding. They don't owe me
Yeah.
anything. Gladly pay the money.
Yeah. And how is it working with Joey Flex so far? You've been working with him for 4 months now?
A little over 4 months, yeah.
Yeah.
So after Worlds, I took some time off to reflect. And I'll be honest with you, I almost said, "Fuck this shit, I'm out." I really almost
Mm.
did because it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. I wanted to win for my son. I wanted to win for my family. I wanted to win for myself. And a small part of me did want to retire. This is a lot for a guy with two kids. I have a lot of responsibility. There's four people I'm responsible for. And their well-being, financially, emotionally. I want to be present. Um, and the gym takes a lot of that. I'm sitting at home right now in my garage, and while they can come in here and chill with me and be with me, it's still not being with them 100%.
Yeah.
Always lift. That's just part of who I am. But this takes so much dedication and sacrifices. To be a dedicated person, you have to sacrifice in different areas. And family is the thing that is very hard to sacrifice. Time
Yeah.
with them, you don't get time back. And I didn't know what to do for a long time. I really beat myself up. I felt ashamed for losing. I felt embarrassed for losing. Um, I talked to some friends and they're like, dude, you're fucking strong, second strongest guy in the world. Like, no one
Yeah.
outlifted you. That's not a loss, but as an athlete, you don't see it that way. I didn't fucking win, and but it was like, dude, you got gold squat, you got gold bench. And it's, yeah, but it doesn't matter. And I
Mm.
really, really beat myself up for
Mm.
too long about what happened, for way too long. And I had to wrestle that bear, and I had to go back to the drawing board. And I'm very analytical. I like to write things out, and I'm like, what are the variables that's keeping me from that next step? And that's where I made the decision to hire a new handler and coach. Nothing
Okay.
was wrong with my handler. It was just the whole mixture of the training, like we
Yeah.
discussed earlier. Um, that's a variable I could control. Getting this rack, this illegal rack, so I'm competing or training on the same stuff I'm competing. That's a variable I can control. So when I'm faced with a big problem in my life, I like to look at the variables. What's the things I can control and what's the things I can't control? And if it's within my power to control them, then I focus on that versus the shit I can't control. That
Mm.
goes back to I don't know people's names in powerlifting or I don't know
Yeah.
their stuff. That shit I can't control.
Yeah.
I control the variable of not looking at that because it can and will affect my training.
Mm.
In a weight class, if Russ ended up squatting like, gosh, 1,000 pounds, you don't
Yeah.
think that would boosted it? You don't think that would send a ripple and the rest of the 83s? Of
Of
course it
course it
would.
would. Yeah.
Of course. So I try not to look at that. I try not to be a part of that world. And I think that I may not be as a popular power lifter as other lifters are because of my absence on that. But I choose to do that for my mentality in my training.
Yeah. And I think you were beating yourself up, but you came second at the World Championships, and you were a part of possibly the greatest battle of powerlifting history, the 66th. I think 10 years in the future, or as long as powerlifting is a thing, people are going to be talking about this moment because all three of you, once again, had the same total and you got beat by body weight. And you came second by body weight as well. Do you think, so before you weighed in, did you eat anything? Did you drink water? Did you do anything like that?
Yeah, I have been working with gosh, I wish I could remember her name. I'm so terrible with names. But she's I want to say Jane. Yes, Jane from the Strength Guys. As a diet, she was like the nutrition coordinator or the like dietitian for all the USA, and I had worked with her
Oh,
in the
you
past
paused.
on managing my weight. And
You paused on my screen.
but I had worked with Jane in the past before, extremely successful, and I worked with her again. And this was the easiest weight cut I ever had. I ate 3 meals the day before, and I
Yeah.
ate two meals before lifting.
Okay.
So this was the easiest weight cut I have ever had. She's fantastic. Um, if you post this on Instagram, I'll message you her tag so she can kind of get some credit because she did really good on working with me. Communication was fantastic. What I needed to do macro wise and all these things like that, and working through my injury as well. And so yes, to answer your question, yes, I did eat before. But those are one of those things, bro. Like you count a dozen 18 ways. Like you know what I mean. Like there's
Yeah.
no it, it happened how it happened.
Yeah. Of
Was it
course.
the best situation? Absolutely. But I could literally replay that, and I have replayed it a million times. There's just no way to have known that that was going to happen. Of course, nobody wants to win on body weight. That I, it's in a weird situation because I feel like I didn't get beat, and I got beat. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yeah.
Because I did the total first, and then everyone else matched the total. Kind of lets fall on body weight. I think like don't take this the wrong way, and I hope no one listening does, but I don't really think that that was really like an epic battle because
Okay.
we all missed a lot. We all missed a lot. It would be it was as opposed to like a battle, it was very much like chance winning. Does that make sense? I can't.
Yeah.
So like for me, a battle consists of I get a lift, then Panna pushes it a kilo higher. Then I gotta dig deep and get it. That's a battle.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, oh, you missed, I missed, you missed. So now, like, let's just see who weighed the lightest. I think that was extremely anticlimactic, in my personal opinion, as a person who was a part of it.
Yeah.
That for me wasn't an epic battle. It was crazy that it happened and very
Yeah.
insane, and I get the attention towards it. But for me, a battle is when everyone is going all out, doing their best, having
Yeah.
their best. And I think that neither me, Panna, or Custom Stan did their best, or at
Yeah. I
least
think.
best. Did we try with 100%? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't that neither of us had our best day that day.
Yeah.
Because if we did, then it wouldn't have been a three-way tie.
Yes.
It would have been second, third, undefinitively. So, like everyone for a while there was a lot of buzz about it because it so rarely happens in our sport. But in my personal opinion, a person that was a part of the trio, I don't think it was a good battle at all. It was
Mm,
just chance that
mm,
things happened. It happened.
okay.
I
Now. Yeah.
The next time I'll see them will be either at Worlds or it will be at the World Games, and I can't wait to kind of like we're all on the same platform again
Yeah.
because I think
And
that
yeah.
deep down I know that as well. You know what I mean?
And yeah. And Pana recently got the SPD reserve spot. I'm not sure if you saw that. Probably not. Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
follow.
Okay. Okay. So he got the reserve spot. What are your thoughts on it? Did SPD reach out to you beforehand because you did come second, or was Pana the first choice?
They didn't reach out to me at all,
Okay. And
and
what are your thoughts on it?
I can't. To be honest, full transparency. I feel a little sideways about it. You
Mm,
know, I love SPD. You know, they've been great sponsors for me. You know, I mean, they just sent me a care package, probably over $1,000 worth of gear. You know, this
oh
new
wow.
forge
Yeah.
color, and you know, so they've always taken great care of me. But I can't help but feel a little sideways about it, maybe a little disrespected. I get a lot of it is politics. He's way more popular in France than I am in America, and I get that. And I think that goes to what we talked about earlier. I
Yes.
don't do social media part of everything. I don't post everything in my life. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
have a full job and kids, you know. So it's like, you know, that powerlifting is a part of my life, but it is not my world like it is Pam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't make any money powerlifting. You know, I
Mm,
have to focus my attention other places and things like this. So as far as a popularity standpoint, I can see why, but from a lifter standpoint, I can't feel but maybe a little disrespected by that because, you know, he's never beat me. And we
yes.
came head to head twice. Cause circumstances, you know, I
Yeah.
only see him and he's never beat me.
Yeah.
I just don't see that.
Yeah.
But if I'm a business and I'm SBD and I'm putting on a the biggest show ever, you know, why not have a more popular guy in Europe be there? You know what I'm
Yeah. Of
talking about?
course. Yeah.
Like, like whenever we did our me versus Penna post, SBD did, and they had me at a higher percentage than Penna at winning. If you look at the comments, like France was like blowing it up, and there were a
Mm,
few like, no way, Jonathan's not going to beat him. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I I can separate myself from the situation enough to be like, I get what SBD is doing, but as a lifter, it does for me, it doesn't make any sense. But that's okay.
And
It's just a turf spot. You know, I'll have to earn my spot next year. You know, I'll have to be like, okay, well, he's definitely going. He has to go. Like I
mm,
should have won, but it is what it is, and I'll leave it at that.
mm. Now you aren't retired. I remember in the King of the List podcast, you said you weren't sure. Right before we started the podcast, I asked you as well. I'll ask you once again. Are you retired?
Definitely not.
Okay.
I can't. I can't hang up my belt with. I can't let that be my legacy. You
Mm,
know, shaking the tree. I think was really something that was long overdue for me. Getting a real coach to write my programming, things like that. I mean, I've seen some huge leaps in strength already, just kind of working with Joey and trying new things and being able to have my input be listened to in training was something that I had been lacking for a while as well. Because
yeah.
using the app to do what it tells me, but
Of
like I
course.
can tell, hey, that felt uncomfortable or that felt too easy, and we can make those adjustments going forward versus just doing what's like on a list of things to do. um, Bench has completely blown my mind on how much it's progressed. Squats as well, deadlifts as well, so I'm very excited. I haven't been showing too much training just 'cause honestly it's really not important for me to post. I post for fun and like, oh, like I'm excited about this lift. But I feel like nowadays a lot of guys do like posting is like a job
Yeah.
for them, like editing and putting filters and music, and that's just so much work. You know what I mean? It's a bench, or it's a squat, and I like again while I do love the sport, it's just like I ain't got time. You know what I mean? So I think that next time you see me on stage, wherever it may be, the total is going to blow a lot of people's mind, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the future. I wouldn't say that a world record bench is beyond my reach.
Mm,
I wouldn't say that 300 kilograms on the squat is a crazy ask.
mm.
Um, so we're again, like we talked earlier, entering a new territory of strength. Um, just by retweaking some things, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. And I think you should post, even if it's like not important for you as a fan. It is quite important to me because I want to know where my favorite lifters are because just seeing somebody hit like as you said, 300 on the squat. Let's say you get that in training before you actually go into Worlds. I would like to see that because first, it inspires me, and second, it just creates more excitement for the actual competition. Whereas if you just say something like, okay, I can squat 300, uh, your words do mean a lot, but I think your actions or you posting it will create more of a buzz.
I think so too. I mean, that's actually an interesting perspective. I actually never really thought about that. I
Yeah.
never really think of myself as like having any like fans.
Hmm.
You know, at least I mean, there's been what's crazy. I've had more international lifters reach out to me and be like, "I'm a big fan. I can't wait to see you lift." Than I have anybody like domestically at home, and I think that's just part of like American culture. Some
Yeah.
cultures are. I remember, and I'll keep this brief. Probably one of my favorite lifts or competitions I've ever lifted in was the NAPF in the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
So if you have been following me, I did poorly at um, Powerlifting America Nationals 2 years ago. I ended up having an emergency appendectomy when I came home, and it really messed me up mentally. Like, ah man, like I just lost nationals. I did horrible. I did, da 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 da, and then like I had the surgery, and now the doctor's telling me I can't live for like 9 months. So I ended up just signing up for the NAPF.
3 months before, right?
Yeah, like 3 months before, dude.
I remember
And I was like,
hearing this story.
I need a goal. I need a goal. If not, I'm gonna fucking go crazy. And then, I ended up slowly getting into benching and squatting and deadlifting. And anyways, I just went with just the expectation to just lift. No expectation whatsoever. Not to take anything away from any athlete that does lift at the NAPF, it didn't really matter if I did well or not for me at
Yeah.
that point. I just like I want to be on stage. I want to go through the meet. I want to jump through the hoops. And like SBD didn't pay for anything on the NAPF. It was all out of pocket for me, so it was a big expense, but I needed it, and I went and did phenomenally. And anyways, what everybody knows that, but what I liked most about that meet was the camaraderie amongst the other lifters, because those weren't necessarily guys that are like top five in the world in their weight class. Those were kind of like the guys that are getting there,
Yeah.
But that is the first meet I took. Gosh, 50 pictures with people.
Oh, wow.
I signed shirts. I signed. People wanted like to take pictures with me, and that meet was awesome because I saw a side of powerlifting that I've never experienced myself before, where
Yeah.
people were like, "I love you." I was so excited when I heard you were signing up for this competition because they wouldn't normally see me at Worlds.
Yeah.
Come on, like people from Belize were amazing. Like we're still friends and we still talk frequently. Just people from all around places that I normally would I or athletes or in countries I normally wouldn't see because maybe they don't go to Worlds, maybe they're brand new, maybe their federation is not that big, but
Yeah.
the friendship and camaraderie that I experienced with them there was nothing like I had ever experienced before ever in my powerlifting career. Signing autographs, take off my shirt and I sign it and I give it to another lifter. Like that was,
Yeah.
and just people and him being like, "That's so fucking cool." Really meant a lot to. Really invigorated my love for the sport at a time where I was kind of unsure about it. It really, really invigorated me to be like, I do have fans out there, and they're excited to see me lift, and I'm excited to be here lifting. You know what I mean? I needed that meet more for my spirit than I needed it like for numbers or anything.
Yeah. And I'm sure after you lost out on Worlds or lost but came second, you probably had DMs in your you probably had a ton of DMs saying that, oh, you did your best, people supporting you, right?
Um, I think that when we did the podcast, like right after,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the rawness of how I was feeling was kind of displayed on that,
Yeah.
and I think that like people got like the gist. without having to like DM stuff. I mean, I did, but not like a ton. You know,
Yeah.
one we'll say real quick. When I won nationals was probably the second time I had experienced camaraderie in powerlifting, at least from my perspective. Charlie Yang, um, what's the kid with the young kid with the blonde hair, long, who's really good. Austin, the other 66. I think his name
Nikolai.
is Nikolai. Yeah, there you go, Nikolai.
Austin
Sorry.
Nikolai. Yeah.
And then Brandon Lee, a few people from the 66s actually DM me and was like, dude, just want to let you know, fucking amazing performance. Just a bunch, wow, just a bunch of my competition reached out to me and said what an awesome job and think da da da. That really meant a lot to me too. That was probably the second time I've actually felt any camaraderie in powerlifting, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So your next meet is going to be nationals and then worlds and then world games, correct? So let's say by world games, what total are you aiming for? Do you want to talk about that, or do you not want to say anything?
We can talk about it a little bit. I
Okay.
mean, Joey and I have kind of, the goal is to always to win. So, I love to say, yeah, I'd like to hit X total. At the end of the day, it's really, the goal is to win. So I like to say that powerlifting is very much like chess because someone doesn't do well on bench or on squat, maybe I don't have to bench as much. So it's a very much tit for tat. But let's say everyone has their best fucking day and I just want to go balls out. I love to see really close, if not at 300 kilogram squat. I love to
Mm,
see very close to maybe a 195, 197,
200.
bench, maybe 200 bench press.
Okay.
And yeah, I really need to be the pack leader that I know I can be. I really need to be pushing into the 600s on the squat. I mean, the deadlift, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because very much, if you look at the competitions, I will win if I squat more than they deadlift. Because
Yeah.
I will most probably deadlift more than what they squat. And then no one's going to outbench me.
Mm,
So I'm really gearing towards uh, shutting that door for them.
mm,
Our goal in training has been let's get that deadlift where it needs to be. And
yeah.
the deadlift, of course, physically for me and my stature, is going to be the worst lift because, you know, I'm short. I'm very short.
Yeah.
Pressing and for squatting, but the deadlift is a challenge.
Yeah.
My small hands, but we've done hook grip to kind of mediate that somewhat. But that's kind of been our main focus for training. So as long as we can get the deadlifts into the 600s consistently, that will shut a door
Yeah.
for a lot, like right in their face. Like this, like he's unbeatable, and that's what we want to become, unbeatable.
Mm,
Like everyone knows I'm gonna squat 280, 280 plus. No one's gonna hang with me on the bench press.
yeah.
And then if I deadlift to where it's at a point where just mathematically it's impossible,
Yeah.
I think that that's our goal. That's our
Mm,
goal. The total wise, I don't know.
780.
It wouldn't be, yeah, right, 780, right? Do the
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see. It's interesting to see where interesting and exciting to see where the weight class um, is going because and I said this before, 66 has to be one of the most exciting weight classes because it's not a slam dunk win, and there's more and more talent coming to the 66s and what's possible at this weight class. The bar is just consistently climbing. I mean, when I first started, the world record back squat was what, 565?
Yeah.
Whatever that is. So, and now it's well into the 600s. So it's, that's a big jump in just a handful of years. So let's see where it continues to grow. I mean, then you got like guys like Brandon Lee deadlifting like almost 700 pounds,
Yeah,
which is,
that's
so I don't think we've seen the top end of what this weight class, even just in recent years. Because
mm,
before you look back in time, 700 would have won
easily.
so easily. I mean,
Yeah,
blowing it out of the water. And now 700 is just to get in.
yeah,
It's just to get invited to go to Worlds. So
that's
it's
crazy.
crazy. It's a weight class that I think unfortunately is slept on. I don't know why, but I consistently feel that the 66 is slept on. But I think as years come, as battles wage, because nationals this year is going to be super interesting. We
Yeah,
got a lot of see. That's the thing. Like not to say that anybody gets a free ride in their country to worlds, but the 66s in America, it's like its own mini world competition. Because I say, damn, I had to break the world record to just beat everybody here at home.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I think that
yeah.
America could easily send two 66s to worlds,
And do you
and
think
both,
they will?
huh?
And do you think they will in the future?
Nah, I don't think so. I think it
Yeah,
gets messy. Got two guys in the same weight class.
that's true.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think because America would be the only ones doing that.
yeah,
I mean, I don't follow like other, but what other weight class has like another guy? I just feel like like who's challenging Pana for
yeah. I don't think
national?
there is anybody.
Yes, he probably wins by like 100 kilos.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just that's easy. That's said and done. The nationals is probably boring, but for us, it's like we got heavy hitters.
yeah,
Everybody's got it. So, but that's also for me the exciting part. I don't like I said earlier. I don't want to show up and win. I want to show up. I want to do my best, and if I win doing my best, awesome. If I lose doing my best, that's awesome too.
yeah.
I think that when you don't do your best and you lose because you know there's better there, I think that's the hardest part about loss in general.
Now there was talks of an American sweep before Worlds, and do you think that kind of added more pressure to you, or did that actually give more fuel to you?
I think more fuel because I've only experienced like the world championships twice, and I will say like the first time in South Africa, I didn't feel necessarily like a team camaraderie.
Yeah,
You know, I had a great experience like the days before hanging out like with Delaney and hanging out with Jonathan Keiko and his fiance. Uh, that was cool. Like like you're out there in a foreign country completely alone, and like we hung out, and that made like my hanging out with them like made my experience.
yeah,
Bonica, hung out with her. It was just great to meet them and hang out. But I didn't feel necessarily a team camaraderie, and this year I definitely did. Everyone was excited in the group chat. It was cool. It was cool. Everyone was we felt like an Avengers cast or something like that. It
mm,
was just that camaraderie. Um, but yeah, definitely added fuel to the fire. I don't think a lot of pressure at all, if any.
mm, that's great. So uh, we'll wrap it up there. But before we wrap it up, do you have a message for Kasim San and Pana?
As far as them competing at Sheffield, or
Anything, Sheffield World Games. Uh, this could be like a little soundbite or like a clip.
I wish them the best of luck in their training. I can't wait. Like I said earlier, till we meet again on the platform to kind of settle a kind of like unfinished business. I think the three of us, deep down, we know that there's unfinished business between the three of us. No one was better than anyone that day, and I think that it probably bugs them as much as it does me, and I think that we settle it. I think we just, even if it came down to, hey, we all meet at a neutral location, a neutral gym, and we have our own competition to settle unfinished business there, definitely between the three of us. And I wish them the best in their training. And I want the next time that they see me, I want them to be at their best because I will be at my best. And we will definitely have the battle that we all three deserve.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That would be probably, again, like personally, I think the 66 battle was one of the best, and I can't wait to see another 66 battle next year.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Let's win this nationals, and we'll be there again for sure. I
Yeah,
think
all
what
the best.
Germany,
Pardon?
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome, dude.
Next year internationals is at Germany, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
World next year. I'm pretty sure.
yeah. And I think it's like right before World Games. I don't think that time gap is too big.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
close. Pretty close.
So you're gonna put
Hey,
your body through some stuff.
let's go. I'll be 37.
Yeah,
Let's go.
that's great. The world champion at 37, maybe.
Dude, as long as it's before 40, I'm good.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Thank you so much for coming on once again. I really appreciate you doing this. Uh, and that will be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like the podcast if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.